Marabel thought she would faint. She swayed, the sword dangling from her hand, lights dancing in front of her eyes. Luckily, Lucius's sword was made of wood, too. Ha! Lucius's cracked voice was triumphant. Your brother would never have fallen for that. The taunt energized Marabel. Instantly, her vision cleared and her grip tightened, and she lunged again at Lucius. He swiveled to put his shield between them, but at the last instant she dodged behind him and whacked the backs of his knees with her sword. The knight's feet flew out from under him, and he crashed to the straw-covered floor. He lay motionless on his back, his short gray beard pointing at the ceiling. Marabel lowered her sword and waited for him to get up. He didn't move, not even a little. His eyes remained shut. Lucius? No answer. Warily, expecting his hand to shoot out and grab her ankle, Marabel circled his motionless body. She prodded him with the tip of her sword. Lucius! Still nothing. What's the matter? Old marsh frog needs a little nap? The corner of his mouth twitched. Relief flooded Marabel. If she'd hurt Lucius, her only true friend besides Ellie, she'd never forgive herself. Marabel was suddenly aware of her aches and pains. Her head was sore where Lucius had thwacked her, and her wrist was already showing a bruise from an earlier blow. You know, she said, pulling off her helmet and shaking free her hair, damp with sweat. I'm almost as good as Marco now. I'd be better than Marco if I could practice out in the open like he does. Lucius sat up and grunted, rubbing his back with one hand. And especially if I had a real fencing master. He chuckled, as she knew he would. Marabel uncorked the flask of blue fruit juice that she had brought as a treat for Lucius, knowing it was his favorite. When the sweet aroma drifted out, the old man grinned. Help me up, princess. Lucius had lived in the palace since before Marabel was born, but he still spoke with the soft accent of the marshland where he'd grown up, making his last words sound like princess. She waved the bottle at him, trying to look stern. Do you promise it's not a trick to pull me down? I swear on the book. Marabel set the flask on the bench and hoisted the old man to his feet. Nobody, not even Lucius, would break an oath made on the Book of Fate. Where did you learn that move? He settled next to her on the bench with a tired groan. She shrugged. Just came to me. She laid the sword crosswise on her lap. She couldn't help feeling smug about tricking him. I didn't injure you, did I? Lucius asked. Let me see. Marabel bent her head and pointed at the sore spot. She winced in anticipation as his long fingers parted her hair, but he touched her so lightly that it didn't hurt. Ellie always said that Lucius's touch was soothing. She was right. There's nothing there, princess, Lucius said with a smile and a pat on the shoulder. Marabel straightened and felt for herself. Sure enough, no lump. He must not have hit her as hard as she'd thought. She wiped the sweat off her forehead and picked up the flask of juice again. But Lucius put out a restraining hand as she raised it to her lips. Best not. She lowered it. But why? Don't want to turn your teeth blue, do you? The queen wouldn't like that, not right before the banquet. The banquet! Marabel thrust the flask into the old knight's hands and shot to her feet. With a wail of dismay, she tore out the door and sped down the spiral staircase. Plague, plague, plague it! How could she have let the time get away from her like that? The banquet was all her parents had been talking about for months. All anyone in the kingdom had been talking about for years, it seemed. Marabel and Marco were turning 13 at precisely 13 minutes past 13 o'clock on this, the 13th day of the 13th month. Or rather, Marco was turning 13 at 13 minutes past 13. Marabel would have to wait another minute for her own birthday. Not that anyone would notice when Marabel came of age at 13:14.